Hi, it's Glenn. Thanks for joining in to Dug Out the Cardboard. In this episode today, I want to take some time to show some appreciation and give some love to some podcast and YouTube channels that were very important and inspirational to me as I got back into the hobby at the beginning of this year in January of 2025. I've mentioned a few throughout the first 5 episodes, but I want to dig into a little bit deeper today to give you an example of some of the things that I've learned and some of the things I've enjoyed with a handful of different podcast and YouTube channels. So this episode is going to be fully dedicated to providing that thanks to a lot of folks that have been important in my return to the hobby. The first one I want to talk about is Wax Ecstatic. I had mentioned this on a previous episode, one of the reasons that pushed me back into the hobby. Wax Ecstatic was a podcast I found. It's actually an older podcast. I say older. The episodes run from August of 2016 to August of 2021. There was 189 episodes, and the gentleman's name that did that podcast was Matt Salmon. And he was found, I found his podcast on Amazon Music. That's where I listen to most of my podcasts, but he's also on iTunes and TuneIn and Apple Podcasts, and Audio Boom, I think, is his main avenue for his podcast. But you can find them anywhere on those that I mentioned. They're still there. He was the first one that I really latched on to when I returned to the hobby. And the main reason was I found, as I was searching for podcasts, I found that his episodes were basically sharing set information from 1981 until 1993, which was exactly the time frame that I collected when I was growing up. So he basically did an episode for every set during that time. So take 1981 for an example. He did an episode for 1981 Tops. He did another episode for 1981 Donruss, another one for 1981 Fleer. He did the same thing for all those years, all the way through 1993, even including the Upper Deck and Score and Leaf, as those sets became into the hobby back into the late 80s, early 90s. In his episodes, he would spend about 20 minutes talking specifically about the set, the design of the set, what he liked, what he didn't like. And then another 20 minutes or so, he would talk about the card that he pulled randomly out of his collection and the player that was on it. So for all those sets and all those years, he would pull a card randomly out of his box and show that as the thumbnail of the podcast, and then find some and deliver some very unique stories for the people and players that he pulled out of his collection. So he went through their stats and their history of what teams they played for, when they were traded, who they were traded for, when they started playing, when they retired, but also found a great story along the way occasionally with unique stories that aren't very well known, and especially some of the players that weren't very well known anyway. He didn't pull superstars out of the box to talk about. A lot of times he would pull folks that a lot of people didn't know about. So he was doing a great job of research and finding some good information and stories about some of these players. After he finished 1981 through 1993, he went backwards and started in 1954 and went all the way back through 1980. So eventually he covered 1954 all the way through 1993. And this was just an example of what I was really interested in when I got back into the hobby. I listened to all the 81 through 93 stories, but really didn't pay attention to his other stories when he went backwards, just until recently when I really started focusing on vintage and going back into the 50s and 60s and 70s. Went back to his podcast and actually while I was starting to think about topics for this YouTube channel, and just started browsing his other episodes, and lo and behold, found out that he kept going and went through 54 through 1980. So I'm right in the middle of listening to those right now. He does them in sequential order, during that period of time. So I'm up to 1972 was the set that I listened to as far as his episode was concerned today. So just a great podcast series. And again, just goes to show you that even doesn't have to be current, a currently published podcast or YouTube episode to bring a lot of value to the sports card collecting community. His knowledge and background and opinions on all the sets from 1954 to 1993 was incredibly insightful and very enjoyable to listen to. So I'd encourage you to check him out. The second podcast / YouTube channel I want to talk about is the Golden Age of Cardboard. A gentleman's name is Mike Moynihan, and he's had podcasts that went back from September of 2020 all the way until currently releasing episodes on a fairly routine basis. Found again his podcast in the same places. Amazon Music is where I started listening to him, and just really liked his focus of vintage collecting. Incredible collection Mike has, just unbelievable. He's a big autograph collector too. Hall of Fame players, vintage Hall of Fame players, pre-war, post-war, you name it, he's got it. His collection is just amazing. So it's fun to watch him. You share some of his cards and hear his stories. He's got a great knowledge of the background of baseball and the history of baseball as well. So a very knowledgeable person that brings a lot to the sports card community. After I listened to his podcast for a while, I just stumbled across his YouTube channel. His YouTube channel is not Golden Age of Cardboard. It actually goes by Baseball Collector. His YouTube channel has tons of videos. It's over 1,400 videos that he has posted, so that seems to be his main source of posting information. And just have gotten a real big kick out of listening to him. He has tons of guests. He's a huge player in the sports card community, which is another thing that drew me to him. He seems to be going out of his way to make sure that folks that are in the sports card community have opportunities to get together and meet face to face. They go to there's a big group that goes to the National Card Show each year. There's another vintage card show in Strongsville, Ohio each year. And Mike, I don't know how long he's done this, but he's put together little events for YouTube, not just YouTube creators, but anybody that listens to the channels. He was always going out of his way to say, if you're listening to me, you're invited. So one of these days, hopefully I'll get a chance to meet up with Mike and others in the YouTube content creation around sports cards, and also just other folks that listen to YouTube content as well. Mike has a lot of topics he talks about. You name it, from a hobby topic perspective, he's probably talked about it either in one of his podcasts or his YouTube episodes. I can't even name them all. I mean, grading, organizing, projects. He does a lot around his projects and what he's working on, and that's been a big inspiration to me as far as some of the things you're going to see from me in the future are some of the projects that I've gotten ideas from, specifically from Mike and his YouTube and podcasts. So again, just an incredible source of knowledge and information. He's been doing it a long time. He never left the hobby. He's been collecting ever since he was a little kid. So he's got a lot of background information and got me caught up with a lot of the things that happened between when I left in the 90s and when I came back in 2025. So great source of information. Again, another one that I would highly encourage you to check out if you're interested in vintage card collecting. Those are probably the biggest two that influenced me to get back into the hobby. I've got a few more I want to mention. David Gonos has Happy Hobby Podcast. And again, another one that I found the podcast first, but then realized he had a YouTube channel as well. So probably watch more YouTube episodes now than I do listening to podcasts. But David's, take on his YouTube channel was and podcast were helping the sports card collector on a limited budget. So I definitely didn't have all the money in the world to throw at sports cards when I got back into the hobby. So that title and that theme caught my eye and caught my ear, and I've learned a lot from David. And another vintage collector. He does some modern collecting as well, but another one that has a lot of great information that you can learn from. Junk Wax Hero is another one. YouTube channel, I think specifically here. Another one that has, again, just searching through YouTube channels and YouTube content caught my eye. Junk Wax era was, the mid to late 80s to the early 90s, which is very heavily where my collection sat before I returned to the hobby in 2025. So that one caught my eye, and he's got a lot of great cards. He's also heavy into vintage as well. So again, I learned a lot from, I think, Mike from Junk Wax Hero as well. The Mangini Collection is another one. John Mangini does a lot of recording of YouTube episodes. He's got a funny saying, not a funny saying, but a unique saying that is basically his punchline. He'll start almost every episode with, "You know what I like to do when I'm doing XYZ, whatever he's doing?" He goes, "I like to look at some baseball cards." So pretty interesting intro, and does a great job of storytelling. He's pretty captivating, so definitely check John out, and I think you'll like his approach and his stories. He also has a tremendous knowledge of the history of baseball, and continues to put that out there almost all of his episodes, so learned a lot from John as well. There's another YouTube channel that I stumbled across, Mike Moynihan from the Baseball Collector and the Golden Age of Cardboard. It actually participates a little bit with Chasing Cardboard. It's basically a YouTube channel, but it's almost created like a TV series. Each episode is dedicated to Ty Wilson going around the United States looking for great sports card collections and stories. So it's amazing some of the things that he's found, and it's awesome to see some of the cards that you just don't get to see a whole lot of, and he goes around and finds these great collections and interviews the folks, and does a lot of purchasing of cards that way as well. So just another incredible, entertaining YouTube channel that gives you a glimpse into some of the incredible collections that people have out there. Finally, last but definitely not least, there is a YouTube channel that really pushed me to make that final leap and create my YouTube channel here. It's called 5 Cent Wax. Tyler is the gentleman that produces that show or YouTube channel, and it was just ironic timing. I was really going back and forth on the fence about starting this YouTube channel, and obviously watching a lot of YouTube episodes and videos, and just stumbled across Tyler's very first initial episode just a little while ago, maybe a month or two, roughly a month or two ago. And just seeing somebody else do their first episode was so inspiring to me. I'd been watching a lot of these folks that I'd mentioned before that had been doing it for years and years and hundreds and maybe thousands of episodes. But seeing Tyler jump out there and put himself out there and produce his first episode really just, made me sit back and say, hey, I can do this too. And I want to really thank Tyler for, demonstrating the courage to put himself out there on a YouTube channel, and, providing that courage to others like me to take the same leap and join the community. And again, just incredible stories he has, and he's got some great cards as well he's already shown. So, big thanks to not only Tyler, but all these folks that I've talked about today. I'm going to post all their information and links in the description below on this video. So definitely would encourage everyone, if you're interested in sports card collecting, especially vintage sports card collecting, baseball cards mainly. This group of folks that I've talked about today were just so inspirational to me, and I think they can do the same thing for you and provide such good information, such good knowledge of the industry, of the baseball game itself, of the history of the game, history of the cards, just so much information that they have, that they are willing to share, and done a whole lot of hard work and great work. I've been doing this YouTube channel for 5 or 6 weeks now, and understand how hard it is, just to, get everything moving, set everything up, and really come up with the topics and put yourself out there. And these folks have been doing it for years and years for the most part. So just huge kudos to this group of folks. And I wanted to take a a few minutes today and show my appreciation to that group of individuals. There's lots more out there. Pick these out just because they were kind of at the top of the heap as far as how many episodes I've watched and what I've learned from them. But I could have listed 10 or 15 others that I've watched some information and watched some videos and episodes of. So there's a lot out there. Would encourage anybody to go out and search for things that you're interested in. Again, that's all for today. Just wanted to take a few minutes today to, again, show my appreciation to that group of people and hopefully link some of my viewers, pretty small at this point in time, but hopefully continues to grow, a lot of my friends and family, and link some folks up that are interested in sports cards, baseball cards, vintage collecting, with some great sources of information that I've shared with you today. Appreciate you joining today and look forward to seeing you on the next one.